I took Faye to see her doctor yesterday, and we hesitantly explained what was going on with her. I left out the paranormal stuff because I didn't want to get put in a ward. So she seemed really concerned about Faye, ordered a blood test, gave her a physical, asked her about her diet and drugs, medications, etc. Faye and I are both non-drinkers, non-drug users, and neither of us on medication. She wants Faye to be evaluated by a psychiatrist next week. For now, she gave her a sedative at night and some anti-anxiety medication. She wants us to get some fresh air and get out of the house, so they're going on a hike today. Someone brought up the possibility that the child's voice outside the cabin asking, "When do we go inside? When do we go inside?" might not refer to inside the cabin, but rather inside Faye. This really worries me because it corroborates some of the strange behaviors that she's been exhibiting in her sleep. I contacted the park ranger, who is pretty sympathetic to our situation, and is going to get in touch with some of the members of his tribe who have experienced with spiritual guidance and medication. He's convinced that Faye and I have attracted the attention of the ones who come out of the mines. Lucky us. More on that later. Some others have recommended that I test Faye to see if that's really her. So yesterday evening, against my wallet's advice, I took her to our favorite steakhouse. I only ever order one meal here. Medium tri-tip, house macaroni and cheese, and a bottled root beer. Faye only ever orders one meal there too. Barbecue chicken, mac and cheese, and a salad with ranch dressing, and a Coke. She drinks Coke only. Her blood is mostly Coca-Cola. Faye took a long time deciding what to order, and ended up ordering a fucking New York strip. I jokingly told her to order one for me, and she said, "I don't know what you want." She also ordered water instead of Coke. Usually we have arguments over how much Coke she drinks, and how I'm always trying to get her to hydrate better and just drink water. This is really unsettling to me. At the end of the night, when we were walking back to my car, I kissed her temple and asked if she really liked it when I called her Noodle. She said, of course. See, I've never called her Noodle in my entire life. Her nickname has always been Monkey Toast. Long story. When we got home, she cracked open a Coke and got on Facebook, which is completely normal for her. This threw me off. One thing that's been on my mind lately is the song the little kid was singing outside the cabin. For those of you who don't know, in the middle of the night at this cabin in Colorado, we heard a child's voice coming out of the forest singing eerie songs. I've been catching myself humming it almost every day. I asked Faye if it meant anything to her, and I sang it to her while she was sitting on the couch. After a few repetitions, she sort of went blank, like she was hypnotized, and just wobbled back and forth ever so slightly for about 8 seconds, and snapped out of it and said, "I don't remember that." Last night's when the shit hit the fan. See, I haven't gotten a full night's rest in over a week now, and it's starting to make me feel over-emotional and crazy. Faye started murmuring in her sleep around 1. As usual, I couldn't understand much of it. She sat up in bed, took the sheets off her legs like she was going to sit up, but I grabbed her arm and asked her what she was doing. She said, "Tell them to leave." Her eyes were completely shut. I asked her who. Who needs to leave? She sat there for about 2 minutes, not speaking, just sitting straight up. I asked her again, and she replied, "There's a man at the door." And about 10 seconds later, and a woman at the bottom of the stairs. Of course, this made every single hair on my entire body bristle. I got up and went downstairs, turning on every single light as I went, and carrying my buck knife with me. Nobody was in the house. I looked in every single room downstairs and even in the backyard, and when I got back to the stairwell, I heard someone stomping around upstairs. Someone had turned the light to the upstairs hallway off. I stood at the bottom of the stairs looking up, trying to listen, but the noises stopped. So I walked back up into our bedroom and got into the bed. It was likely that Faye had gotten up to go to the bathroom or sleepwalked a bit in the room and went back to sleep. I went to sleep pretty fast, but woke up again only a few minutes later. Faye was gone. I heard movement down the hall, so I looked out into it and saw Faye coming out of the other bedroom. She staggered down the hall towards me, then stopped, turned around, and walked back in the other direction. She did this 8 times. She was walking in almost the same way as the night before, standing really high up on her toes, her legs totally rigid like they were made of cement, and her arms completely limp and flopping back and forth. It was extremely fucking terrifying seeing her move like that. She was totally graceless. It was like someone was testing out a human body for the first time, and at that same moment I heard a noise through the bedroom window and ran over to check, thinking someone was really at the front door. I mean, you could see down to the front entryway from the bedroom window. And off in the distance, about 30 yards out, somebody was walking back and forth in the exact same way that Faye was. He was humming loudly and intermittently singing. The song sounded like the one that I sang to Faye earlier. The one the child sang outside the cabin. Basically, I ran into the hall, woke Faye up, and brought her downstairs. I opened the front door to get a better look at the man. But he was gone. Today, at the behest of a few other people, I asked Faye if she'd ever been to the cabin before we visited it. I don't know why I never thought to ask her this before. She said nothing about it, and we stayed there for several nights. She was hesitant to answer me and eventually admitted that she's been there once when she was 14. She and her parents were snowshoeing up the mountain. A few hours later, I emailed her mother and asked the same question. She told me that Faye had gone to the cabin multiple times as a child, but stopped going when she went to high school. I can't figure out which one is lying to me. Because so many people have questions about Faye, she's agreed to do a filmed interview. If you post questions for her, I'll film her responses and post them here within a few days. I haven't told Faye this, but I'm thinking of going back to the cabin and meeting with the ranger. He wants to do some rituals with the dream catcher that we found. If it's still there. And he says that he'll bring his friends and try to cleanse the house and the surrounding area. Now, this will cost me like $500 just to fly out there, but if this shit goes any worse, it might be worth it. Quick note. One of the Redditors sent me a private message telling me to investigate the guest room to see if Faye was doing anything in there. Turns out, she was. She had written the number 5 on the window with her finger. I only saw it because of the condensation from the cold room this afternoon. It's written backwards so that someone standing in our backyard could read it. I can't tell you how much all your support has meant to me over the past few days. Faye feels so good knowing that people are constantly asking about her health and feeling like a few of your suggestions have literally saved her life, so thank you from the bottom of my heart. I don't even know where to begin. So much has happened in the last 2.5 days. The sedatives and anti-anxiety medicine the doctor gave Faye worked during the day, and she's been less restless, less stressed. However, at night, her behavior is still highly unusual. I've taken the overwhelming consensus of Redditors seriously. I went out and purchased a bunch of childproofing materials for the house to prevent Faye from harming herself or going outside while sleepwalking. I couldn't afford a bunch of cameras, sorry. I bought these knob covers that little kids and hopefully sleepwalkers are too stupid to figure out. Outlet covers in case she tries to jam anything into them, and I hid the kitchen knives. I also brought in a spiritual healer after very carefully searching for one. It's my opinion that 99% of them are frauds and hucksters. But this woman did not charge us anything, and she was recommended by close family. She was the daughter of a Shoshone tribe elder. The long and short of it is that she believes our home is haunted. However, she says that Faye feels very off. She said she couldn't get a good read on her at all, and that there's a dark cloud over her. Still suspicious of this woman, I took her to a random upstairs window and told her that I had seen something outside near the edge of the woods, mimicking Faye's sleepwalking, which was true, but I pointed out the wrong window to the wrong part of the house. She quietly examined the other windows upstairs and said that our bedroom window, the correct one, gave her a terrible feeling. She said, "He watches from here. She can feel him whispering at night." I told her everything. She was horrified by our story. The look on her face unsettled me so much, it was like she'd never heard of anything this bad. She went out of the room and had to collect herself downstairs. The woman prayed for several minutes, sang a beautiful song in a language that I can't even begin to describe, and saged our entire house. She put some kind of crushed herbs on the ground in front of the 2 doors that led into our home. And she told me in private, "You're dealing with the Hollowed One." She said its name in her ancestral language, but I can't even come close to remembering it or even spelling it. She said that one is infatuated with Fae and will do absolutely anything to get inside our house. But the process takes time. I don't know if I actually buy any of this, but at least she didn't sell it to me. We also had Faye take a pregnancy test, as recommended by many Redditors. The woman said it was a good idea. Good news, not pregnant, and the woman stood in the bathroom with her like a prison guard so that she couldn't fuck with the test. We then thanked the woman and she left. That night we attached a little jingle bell from Faye's Christmas-themed lingerie to a hair scrunchie and put it around her ankle. I'm such a light sleeper, there's no way that she'd be able to get out of bed without waking me. Faye fell asleep really fast due to the meds. Out like a light in a few minutes. I lay in bed thinking about the 5 that she wrote on the window in her sleep a few nights earlier. And the reason that it meant 5 a.m. and not 5 days, as some others had speculated. Now, this makes sense because she'd been getting up at that time to sleepwalk every night, 4 nights now. Since the 5 was written backwards, facing the backyard, I reasoned that it was a signal to whoever, or whatever, was out there. She was going to try to let it inside. I eventually fell asleep, and I had a fucking horrifying dream. Something came into the house through the sliding glass door to the yard and walked up the stairs into our bedroom. It sat on the edge of our bed, rubbing Faye's foot and staring at us. It was completely wreathed in shadows, and I couldn't see it at all, except for a silhouette. I woke up soaked in sweat, and I couldn't fall back to sleep for a while. 5 a.m. rolls around, and the reliable little jingle bell woke me right up. In her sleep, Faye did something that she's never done before. She stood up on the bed, rigid as a board, and stared out the window. I couldn't really say stared because her eyes were closed, but she was alert, watching, listening. She remained there like a statue for at least 5 minutes. I also didn't move, I just watched. And then she slowly raised her hand and started waving it at someone outside. My skin crawled. When she did that, she definitely knew someone was there, even with her eyes shut. Faye then stepped off the bed and darted to the bedroom door, trying to get out of the hallway, but the childproof knob covering stopped her. She couldn't figure it out in her sleep. She did another thing that she's never done while sleepwalking. She got extremely angry and started pulling on the cover. She shrieked and growled like a trapped animal. After about 30 seconds of this, she woke herself up. She started crying really hard and told me that in her nightmares, she had seen a man without a face walking through the halls of our home, whispering her name, looking for her. I sat up and talked with her for an hour, and then we went back to sleep. When I woke up again, it was around 10 a.m. Faye was gone. Bedroom window was open. As I walked downstairs, I saw her in the backyard reading, and every single window in the entire house was open. It was like 55 degrees outside. She told me that the smell of the sage made her nauseous and she wanted to get out of the house. I couldn't smell anything. I suggested that we go to the church downtown today to speak to the priest. She's Catholic. But she refused. So I had my buddy Kay, who's very, very devout Catholic, come over with some holy water and his crucifix. Apparently Kay told his priest what was going on, and the guy very reluctantly blessed the water and told us to call him. Faye was irritated that I'd done this without permission and waited outside while Kay set up a few little crosses and his big crucifix around the house. Faye refused to have any holy water put on her. She kept saying, "I'm freezing, don't you dare." She's gonna be super pissed when she finds out that I put the shit in her shampoo and conditioner bottles. She was in a really nasty mood all morning, but after we went out for lunch, she was feeling much better and agreed to film the interview video and answer questions from the Redditors. While filming, I noticed that she wasn't wearing her engagement ring, and realized that she hadn't been wearing it for several days. I asked her where it was. She said it was in our luggage, which we've now only partially unpacked. But later, when I checked, it wasn't there. See, I'm worried about this for several reasons. I'll post the video as she watches and approves it. She's very self-conscious, expect it within a few days. I've finally begun moving some more of the photos from the cabin onto my laptop, too. I can't bring myself to listen to those voice recordings yet. Since this is getting overlong, flash forward to last night. I got up about 1 a.m. to pee and knocked the bell scrunchie off the bed. Faye had taken it off and was gone. I got angry and scared at the same time. I found her sitting in the stairs looking down into the dark, spreading her arms open like she was trying to get a child to climb the staircase for its first time. She was smiling with her eyes closed. As I usually do, I gently got her up and walked her back to bed. When I laid down next to her, she leaned over with her eyelids still closed and said, "They're gonna kill you," and then licked my face. I called her parents today to arrange a flight back to Colorado. They're paying for it. Her mom, Laura, admitted to me that something had happened to Faye as a child at the cabin. That's where her sleep disturbances started, when she was 5. I had enough, and they could tell. They spoke with a ranger at Pikes Peak again, and he arranged for me to meet with him and his buddies from the tribe, who know the entire history of the area and all of the hauntings that other visitors have reported. Faye will be staying with my 2 best friends, R and Jay, and Jay's fiancé. I've known all 3 of them ever since high school, and they're completely informed about these events. They'll be guarding her with their lives. In short, I'm going back to the cabin alone. I'll update soon, but no matter what happens, I'm not going to drag this out any further. I've polluted this place enough with my problems. Of course, when I say alone, I don't mean completely alone. Okay, I'm meeting the ranger and his friends there. His 2 friends are from his tribe, nation? Sorry, I don't know the correct terminology. And they're healers. See, they know all about Pikes Peak and the ongoing situations. I'm not going out easy. I dropped Faye off at my friend's place, and they're taking care of her. I'm heading to the airport now, no idea when I'll get back.